going around social media last year, where you saw black children in the US watching the new Little Mermaid trailer, and their reactions and the awe that they had at seeing someone who looked like them reflected somewhere where they aspire to be. Now, I know that we can't all be the Little Mermaid, but the fact that they felt like that was something they could do, and that someone that looked like them was reflected in what they saw, was really crucial. And I think for me, growing up, seeing people who looked like me in places where I aspire to be was something that's really helped me further, both develop as a person and also as a surgeon, and know that I would be welcomed where I went and not just kind of tolerated. So, backing away from the Little Mermaids and back to medicine. On the left, you see word clouds that were opinions that medical students hold in different specialties. This was something I think that they showed me when I was at med school, and I looked for it long and hard. I think there are a lot of stereotypes that persist even today, and having spoken to people who rotate through my hospital where I currently work in West Hart, those stereotypes are held even now, and I graduated 6 years ago. So radiologists are unsociable, they're afraid of the lights and they hide in the closet. Anaesthetists are lazy, aloof, sleepy, but excel at Sudoku and crosswords. And surgeons are arrogant, egotistical, and male. And I think, like I said, these stereotypes persist even now, even though there's increasing evidence that people aren't actually like that necessarily in all specialties. So, because orthopedics is what I know best, I thought I'd delve a little bit more into the orthopedic stereotypes. Now, has anyone seen any of these memes ever? No hands. Thought so. So, firstly, on the far left, you have a caveman with a hammer. Secondly, you have Bob the Builder with a Jesus Thor complex and also a hammer. Third from the left, you have Meathead again with a hammer. Seems to be an ongoing theme. And finally, you have Andy Bernard from The Office nailing it. So, diversity is something I think that relates a lot to visibility. And why would you, as a woman or someone from a minority group, enter into a specialty where you feel you're not reflected? It's orthopedics. I think there's a very much attitude that it's an old boys club, rock that mold, and there are kind of frat guys who just listen to Green Day and hammer stuff. But actually, if you delve a bit further, there's a lot of people who aren't like that, who are visible. And I think that often the stereotype of orthopedics and surgeons generally suffer. Don't have about it, you know anyone? Yeah. That is Dave Mark, President of the British Orthopaedic Association, former President of the Royal College of Surgeons in England, and former President of the General Medical Council. Pretty impressive resume. Anyone else? Yeah? Dottie? Yes. With Lee Ong, and I think Miss Ong is who I highly credit with my decision to become an orthopedic surgeon, even though I've never actually kind of worked with her. So Miss Ong is the first female consultant part, and she works heavily, as you'll find out this afternoon, in kind of war zones abroad. She set up medical aid in Palestine. And I remember in 2016 watching Miss Ong speak at the future of the conference, I think it was, listening to her about her work as an orthopedic surgeon and her work in war zones. And I remember I just completed my 8-week medical school placement, but I haven't yet been able to see myself perfected in a specialty. So I was kind of doing and growing, but I do something that I really, really enjoy, which I do something where I feel that I might pick up the better. And I watched Liz on speak and I thought, bloody hell, if she can do it, why can't I? She's half my height and she's phenomenal, as we'll find out later. Anyone else recognise anybody else? No? So top left, you've got Prof. Deborah Eastwood, consultant paediatric orthopaedic surgeon at Stanmore, and she's the current president of the British Orthopaedic Association. Bottom right, or bottom left, you have Mr. Samantha Charles. Alan's already gone through her accolades, so I won't repeat them. But again, I really credit Ms. Ross as being someone who stressed the importance of being visible and seeing someone who looks like you in a place where you want to have society. Because if you don't see yourself reflected in a place where you want to go, then you might not go there. And then on the left, far left, Mr. Nafani, the anatomcal surgeon, who's one of my supervisors at Imperial during my GCM career. And he really took me under his belt, actively encouraging me, making sure that I got all these opportunities and the same opportunities as the other guys who were there. They were all boys, and kind of actually encouraging me to excel as a clinician and a physician. So, looking a bit at gender disparity in surgery, the Royal College rate that there's about an 8:1 male to female ratio of surgical consultants based on to NHS digital data. And you can see here that the rates vary massively based on surgical specialty. And unsurprisingly, the ones at the top are the ones that are considered more female friendly. So you've got ENT, ophthalmology, and paediatric surgery. And then right at the bottom, you've got neurosurgery, orthopedics, and cardiac thoracics. But I think it's really important to say that not all is bad, and actually, across almost all of the surgical specialties, there's been a positive trend in terms of increasing numbers of women in that registrar and consultant level. In terms of orthopedics, we're actually the second largest surgical specialty, but we have the lowest number of women. So if anyone wants to do orthopedics, please do. We need some friends. In UK clinical practice, women comprise 50% of medical students, 25% of orthopaedic trainees, and 7% of orthopaedic consultants. But again, you can see that there are increasing numbers of trainees in pretty much all surgical specialties at the training and registrar level. And this will eventually be reflected in the consultant population as well. It just takes a bit of time for everyone to go through. And I think this correlates to diversity of surgery in all aspects, whether that's ethnic, sexuality-based, religious, gender, or otherwise. So, what is the Royal College doing to improve diversity in surgery? Well, in 2020, Professor Neil Watson, who's the current president of the Royal Surgeons England, commissioned an independent review into diversity and the Black Lives Matter movement and COVID pandemic. And this review was undertaken by Baroness Helena Kennedy. And to quote Neil Mortensen, the review found unacceptable behaviours, unconscious bias, and prejudice which prevents women and those from other ethnic backgrounds making progress in a surgical career from joining our council and from taking leadership positions. Now, that's pretty shocking in 2022, you know? But it did lead to the creation of a 5-year action plan to change the face of surgery. And this action plan included various different components, so improving leadership to those from diverse backgrounds, improving the Women in Surgery Network, which is a fantastic resource if anyone wants to know when you can join as a med student, improving medical opportunities, improving opportunities for parents in training, an LGBTQA+ initiative with a Pride Forum, and enhancing medical and school engagements with the Future Surgeons Conference. And this is obviously a 5-year, I think it's going on till 2026. And it's not just the Royal College that's doing things to improve diversity, it's also specialty associations like the BOA. So in BOA in 2020, the BOA also came up with the Diversity Action Plan, and again included some similar principles to the Royal College of Surgeons England plan. So they've got diversity and culture champions, an inclusive orthopedics initiative, looking at ways that people can feel more included. And it doesn't just relate to kind of inclusiveness, it also relates to schools. So in orthopedics, we use a lot of round kits. But the kit is made for a standard large grip size, which is typically a male grip. There's evidence that shows that if you have a smaller grip, so if you're a woman, you can get increased risk of repeated strain injuries. And so then looking at ways in which we can improve that as well. They're going to improve recruitment into orthopedics, which hopefully I'm also doing right now. Encouraging their students to consider it as a career, and also looking at talks with people, so patients and staff from diverse backgrounds, to see how we can help progress from their opinions and talking to key stakeholders. Now, the other thing they're also doing is looking at ways in which parenthood and surgery don't have to be two things on opposite ends of the spectrums, because we're all entitled to a family life. So, parenthood and surgery. The Royal College and City associations like the BOA have pages now about how you can plan to do parenting surgery. I have to say, I'm 28, I'm not a parent, I have no real world experience of this, and most of the information I've come across has been whilst writing this talk. But having looked at the information that's available, there are a lot of really fantastic resources that are out there. So the Royal College has a page, like I said, on parenting surgery, flexible working, less than full-time working. The BOA, as you can see, go one step further than the college and talk about time with the family, so we'll go all the way from foundation to consultant level. And they do say there's never an ideal time, but they go through the pros and cons of having a family at each stage. You can see risk-related issues, so neurology exposure to x-rays, leaving, returning to work, how it might affect your ARCP dates or extension of training, and childcare. So the BOA have a table on the cons of having a childminder, a private nursery, a public nursery, using a family as childcare, and they talk about the different pros and cons of each. And I have to say, it's not something I was ever expecting to find on the BOA website, but I was delighted that orthopedics is obviously leading the way in terms of promoting both parenthood and family life and having a good work-life balance. Because as I said, we're all entitled to have a job and also have a life outside of work. And I think, while obviously parenthood affects men and women in different ways, it's the result of that for people to go. And even if you don't want to do orthopedics, a lot of the advice is quite general. So I encourage you to have a look and see what it can offer you as well. In terms of my experiences, this is the photo of me and David and some of the other orthopedics team, but they've been generally positive. I've had absolute encouragement from both male and female trainers. I can't stress the importance of having same gender trainers, especially early on in your career, in terms of the importance of visibility, and also just asking which might not affect your male colleagues. And I think this is also applicable to all aspects of diversity. There will be things that affect someone from a minority group in one way that might affect other people differently. And just having the option to ask someone how they did this, and what did they find, and what worked for them, and what didn't work for them, is really invaluable. I think it's really important to say that bias does exist. Often it's obviously unconscious bias. I've actually experienced this more from patients than from colleagues. So when I say that, I mean, as an example, when I walk into a room with my junior foundation doctor colleague, the patient will often look at them, talk to them, and then this is often typically followed by an awkward look between me and my male colleague as to how we interact with the patient politely, correct their unstated assumption, and not lose rapport with that we built with the patient in the interim. And this can be difficult because the patient's often obviously embarrassed by their assumption, but you just have to kind of roll with it and see how you can cope with it. I think more fair is more kind of overt bias, and unfortunately I only haven't really had this one main thing, which is where patients on my A was there to ask me if they could see a white doctor. To which I was obviously a bit frazzled, walked out of the room, went to find my consultant, who was actually really fantastic and swore a lot. Then what told me to go and tell the patients, more happily than he said it, that I was the only doctor on the A&E floor at that time, and that if they didn't want to be treated, they could leave the building in no uncertain terms. Which I did tell the patient, and the patient suddenly decided that their illness was bad enough that they would cope with me treating them. I think then, after that experience, I felt very much like the care that I was providing was going to be representative of the kind of minority group that I was in. And I think that was quite an impressionable tool for me as well as a young doctor, knowing that the way that I acted would carry over to that patient and possibly influence their experience with their attitude going forward. In terms of other colleagues, I don't feel like my practice treat me really any differently from them, and I think this is very representative of the attitude in orthopedics and surgery that's coming through. Well, a couple of years ago, much more of an old boys club, the guys would go out for drinks or, I don't know, to the strip club or something, and you'd be left put to the side. Now it's very much, don't care who you are and where you come from, as long as you're good at your job and you try your best and if you make a mistake, you learn from it, then everyone's very welcoming and happy to have you. And I think this is very much the attitude that's being pushed forward nowadays. And if you do have the old kind of boys club attitude, often now people bring it up as a point of kind of issue that it shouldn't be done and it shouldn't be carried forward because people found it would be really good. Because you can't just sit by when you watch kind of discrimination happen, you have to say something against it. I think, like I said, there are challenges ahead that apply to men and women, so parenthood, but there are steps that are being taken to promote a culture of inclusion and diversity, both by the Royal College and also by faculty associations on a national, regional and local level. In terms of resources that are available, so the Royal College of Surgeons England has a WINS network, so Women in Surgery. They do various different networking events. They also hold evenings. They have a directory that you can contact people who are happy to be contacted and ask them questions. You also have the pages that I've mentioned. You've got the Medical Women's Federation. So they are an organisation that's national and they again have local and regional chapters. They do different networking events that includes part one for any people who are considering a change in careers aesthetics. You've also got medical societies, so women in surgery. And if you don't have a society like that, you can set one up. So when I was in my 5th year of med school, a friend and I decided that we didn't have one, and actually we thought it'd be a really useful tool, so we kept that one. And we did networking events, almost like a speed dating, where we've got loads of different consultants from different specialties, not just surgery, but medicine as well, and GP and anesthetics. And you could spend 10 minutes picking their brains and asking all the questions that you wanted on an informal level over a drink, which I think is often much nicer than kind of going up to them at the end of the first session saying, oh, how did you do this? How do you code blah, blah. You've also got specialty societies like the BOA and backcraft. Obviously, I'm biased, and I think the BOA is shining a light and leading the way. And you've got specialty training societies as well, like Winter, Blaster, and Acid. Again, all of which have different resources, diversity champions, inclusion initiative, promoting diversity of speakers at congresses and different things like that. So overall, I think surgery is fantastic, and I think it's an amazing specialty. And I would very strongly encourage all of you to at least do a career in surgery, if not orthopedics, because orthopedics is the best surgical specialty. Really friendly, engaging, they're supportive, and that promotes a pastoral, a professional, and a clinical point of view. I think, as with everything, there is a wide range of personality types, but don't be fooled by the stereotype. The stereotype will be the rare few, and actually not everyone in orthopedics is a meathead holding a hammer. It's fascinating in terms of the operations that you can do, the developing technologies, and also the fact that you can have a tangible impact on patients' quality of life. There will be challenges, both from a diversity point of view and also from kind of a family life parenthood point of view. Surgery is kind of long and hard work, intensive training, but the impact you have, I think, is certainly worth this. And there's a lot of resources and kind of support that's now available, and people being actively encouraged to both have a family life and a work life. And I think overall, you just need to choose the specialty that you love, because if you include specialty training, you'll be doing it for 30 to 40 years, and that's that's part of your life, really, isn't it? So make sure that you enjoy it, because if you don't enjoy it, it's going to be a long 40 years. All right, thank you.
I'm done.
Thank you, Joe. I was wondering, does anyone have any questions before we go on to the Q&A forward? Any questions?
Can you hear me? Yeah. Hi, thank you for that. That's a great talk. I was just wondering, what do you think would be the main message that we should get across, especially obviously now, as it's nice that we have these talks now when we're young, because then it hopefully will instill these important messages and we'll take it through our training. But especially with the consultants that we currently have, do you think there's enough training that is being done right now to ensure that they're not being discriminative towards new up-and-coming doctors, or do you think this is something that we still need to work on?
I think it's definitely something we still need to work on. There's always progress that can be made, and I think progress is being made at the moment. A lot of the newer consultants I find who've just come through are better than some of the older consultants that are on their way out, and that may just be a generational thing. Not necessarily something that should be tolerated or encouraged, but probably just a fact. And I think there is some work, at least when you join different hospitals, in terms of diversity things that are being given. I think there's definitely more that's needed, and actually probably when people attend Congress, you can catch the majority of the patients, consultants that are there. And they may decide to have gone from a 40-minute online training in your hospital, but if you catch them when they're at the VOA or when they're at Glasgow or Backgrass, then actually they kind of have to sit and listen through it. But I think you do also, on a local level, need to actively encourage and challenge attitudes. Obviously, do it tactfully, but I think, yeah, you still need to kind of encourage people to change their minds and their opinions. I also didn't have anything like this when I was at Meds.
Yeah, I think it would be a good idea to get some to go to the floor. But let's start with this topic.
Oh my goodness.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. I have to say I'm delighted to be back here. I sat in these very seats back in 1987, so I'm showing my age there. And it's just so wonderful looking around and seeing the diversity and the enthusiasm. But here you are on a Sunday to come along to this conference. And very much as Camille said, that was a very excellent thing. We didn't have societies and conferences like this at the stage of our training, so I think this is excellent. Thank you to the organizers, and well done you for all coming along and being so enthusiastic. So yes, I was a medical student at UCL. I was the first year of the joint school between UCL and the Middlesex School of Medicine, but I had actually applied to UCL. I did my basic surgical training for the Royal London rotation, rotating through general surgery, vascular, neurosurgery, plastics, and orthopedics. And ultimately, the reason I decided to go into surgery was I excelled in anatomy. Surgery seemed very much aligned with I know my quantity, so those patients got better very quickly, they're judging very well, but you need body part. You had the spectrum of male, female, and the orthopedic surgeons actually were the nicest surgeons that I came across. And that's not to say that I didn't experience racism and sexism throughout my training. In fact, I feel that I experienced more sexism, but that may very well be due to my mindset. I grew up in Guyana, South America, from the age of 11, and in my country, the majority of people are African.
Later in the evening,
a
outside getting some air, and came out 6
So I
o'clock.
never do my clothes and
It
their
was
violence.
extremely uncomfortable and went back
And so a
inside.
lot of experiences
The next
I
day I
went
called
through.
Jen and told her
Because I
everything.
was in this country,
She accused me of trying to ruin the
and
relationship.
I came to 23% more being consultants of female. I assumed that they were because I was female. Now, when I share some of my experiences with friends, they would be agnostic to the experience when they saw it. And I share that to say that your mindset will really influence how you see situations and how you respond to them. And so if you are feeling confident and secure in yourself, situations that you encounter will have less than an impact. Okay, so we were on the section I talked about diversity and diversity. And I think apart from the work that is being done externally to try and increase diversity in the specialties and so on, we need to work on ourselves. So I met a few women on my journey. I met Alison Hume. I was a medical student, and she was a registrar. She was actually the first female surgeon I ever saw, and that had a huge impact on me. And I did come across Miss Anne when I was a registrar at the Royal London. When I was an SHR. And I didn't actually go straight through orthopedics, but I saw her, and I was able to see her on the way. But most of my supporters, my dentists and sponsors, they were white men. And so whilst it is important to have someone who looks like you, they don't necessarily have to be. And I have occasion that people who you would expect to be your ally and is not. So not everyone who looks like you is going to support you either. So just remember that. So I finished my basic surgical training at the Royal London rotation, and then I got on to high surgical training in Southwest Thames as Diagnosis and Thomas's rotation. And thereafter, I did a fellowship in Toronto and Sydney, Australia, before taking up my consultant course in 2005. So that's a nutshell. But diversity is something that I'm absolutely passionate about. When I was at the Allstate Medical School, I was the only black female in the whole class of over 200 students. And in the year of there was one other black female. There was one black male that came through the British system, and we had 4 or 5 of the exchange students from Malawi in my year. That's when the year when we started the exchange, which was very, very rare to see that. And this point was hard to see a few here. But yes, there's still a lot of work to be done. At the moment, in terms of black consultants, they only make up 2% of the surgical workforce. Those from an Asian background make up about 27%. So we have a little bit of catching up to do. And as you can see around, we look around, more people from diverse backgrounds make up the students, but not yet getting through to the very senior level. So definitely we need to support that. So any questions? Anything I'd like to talk about?
Inspired by the past, but does he have mentors through medical school and taking all the useful course without any
I was when I was an SHU, she was my registrar, and she was supporting the registrar. I mean, I don't remember having a specific that's her specifically supporting me, but just the visibility, just seeing her was important. I got a lot of support from my male consultants, and my experience is different to some other females in the college group. They didn't have as fortunate or positive experience. But I didn't just look within the medical fraternity to get my support. I had support externally. So the support that I needed from women, I didn't get it that's my brother outside. And so all the support have to come from within the specialty. And there are a lot of people within the specialty who don't look like you who will support you.
I agree. I think just by the fact that there are more of them, most of my mentors have actually been white men, which is a thing that I think is probably will come over time to change. But like I said, because there are more men in orthopedics than in surgery generally at the moment, I'm view of the fact that there are more of them, most of your mentors and supporters will be men, which is a problem because you can get your females elsewhere. And again, you can get your support from a minority kind of ethnic standpoint elsewhere. It's just important that you have supporters both in and outside of medicine. But I think in terms of women, seeing people, so when I become a song and knowing that there were people out there who were like me, it's really important. You actually have to have them on a first kind of one-to-one basis, but knowing that there are other people out there is very reassuring.
How things are actually getting better and how they're technical barriers that you think you still, where do you think that is not absolutely happening? What level do you think it is that women aren't being encouraged enough and being inherently like sexism and racism? Or do you think it's a barrier further on to things like maternity and where do you think if you had to think where would be the main barrier that
I just want to say that I don't think we can become complacent, and we can't assume that the younger generation will be more tolerant in terms of discrimination and racism, etc. If you look at the racial index, which is a measure of acceptance of gender equality in business, and it's a measure of whether people are tolerant, they find that actually with the younger generation of people, they are becoming less tolerant. Why? Because as the number of women increases, the men are feeling threatened. And they're feeling that actually they're having to give something up. And we find that as we increase diversity, and I personally find that because that's the sphere in which I work, that there's a lot more willingness to engage with gender diversity, LGBT. But when it comes to ethnic diversity, it's not as much enthusiasm there. And I think on the back of the George Floyd and Black Lives Matter, people become a little bit fatigued. And so that is a barrier. But having said that, things are definitely still improving, and we are getting better with widening participation schemes, etc. to get more ethnic minority doctors and women on all the diverse groups into the specialty. What's a little less difficult to measure is the inclusion. So we can get you there, but are we really including you? Are you really feeling a sense of belonging? And that really is something that's difficult to measure. And I still think that that's still a problem. And that's why working with the different diverse groups that I do, there's still a feeling of not being included. So that's why I think this is the next.
I definitely agree with that. And I think it does vary by area as well on a regional basis. So when I did my training up in Nottingham, I was the only Black doctor on my surgical rotation, whereas down in London, in Stanmore, we've got 6 ST3s, 5 of us are from vague backgrounds. So I think it will vary depending on where you go in life. But overall, I think there are still challenges. And like Mr. said, it's not necessarily just being tolerated, you have to feel welcomed and included. And that's something that's, I think, probably take a bit longer to happen over time.
Any more questions?
Hi, I'm Ida. I came from Glasgow University, and I also did 8 weeks orthopedic placement. I really enjoyed it, and I think I'm going to be an orthopedic surgeon, just like you guys. Yeah. I just got my deanery for F1, so I have some about 400 programs to rank soon. So I've heard a lot of things from the F1 who are in the orthopedics department who are working now, and they say it's quite stressful because it's hard for them to get in touch with the consultant because there's always in the operation theater and all that. So my tips is that I don't want to get put off just because I'm doing an F1 and it's stressful because I need to do my work task and either to go to the OT or something like that. So do you have any tips on how I will enjoy an F1 in orthopedics or anywhere like surgical departments?
So I think for me, when I did my F2 job, ward work was shit. The on-calls were really great because I was at a major trauma centre and I got to do lots of kind of wrist manipulations and various other different procedures. You just have to find a reg who'll take you under their wing and encourage you along. And often, if you make it known that you want to do orthopedics, people in orthopedics love to talk about orthopedics, so they will definitely encourage you and welcome you. You just have to find someone you get on with, you can kind of ask them to take you along with them and give you opportunities and things. The ward work will be rubbish. Sorry.
It's fine. Thank you so much.
Well, on the mind map, it's successful.
No, but it probably should be.
Any reports?
So we're talking about diversity as well. How are people from lower income communities encouraged to go into the field of medicine? Because like medicine is a very rewarding question, but the issue is starting off, it can be quite difficult to find finance and funding or maybe the right guidance. So what opportunities or pathways are there for those who might not have like as much privilege as other people?
I think when I was at med school, there was a widening access to medicine participation scheme. I was very fortunate that I came from a relatively privileged background and I didn't have those issues. But I know that others who did were able to apply to the scheme, get the work experience that they needed to do, and also supported through the application program. And there was also a kind of foundation medical year that you could do at Nottingham as well, for people who would then join the actual medical school kind of program a year later. So they would do kind of almost a foundation year before the medical school thing. But I think a lot more work needed to be done to widen access to medicine. You're right, until the career, kind of you need a lot to get into and a lot to be able to progress through it. Because we also have to pay for courses and various other different things. So there's definitely work to be done.
No, I agree with that. I mean, the surgical colleges are all aware of that and are working jointly to see what they can do in terms, and in addition to the different medical schools, to have bursaries and grants to help those from socioeconomically poor backgrounds. Because they've done a lot of work, and in fact, the World Cultural Centre of Edinburgh has published a really excellent report looking at that. And so they are very problem that they're trying to tackle.
Hi, I was just going to follow up on that. So at the start of the talk, it was surgery is obviously really diagnosed by blind man. Would you say it's more accurate to say it was by blind middle class man? And that whilst a lot is being done in other areas of university, social class is not really addressed. So I think you mentioned one in participation schemes. I benefit from mine in school, but I feel like that's where it was stopped, and there's not really much being done further on in training. So would you say that looking at diversity just through the lens of sort of gender and race is a bit flawed if you don't do the pattern areas?
I totally agree. And that's why, I mean, I think with diversity work, one has to start somewhere, and that's why there's certain areas that are getting a bit higher profile, but all areas are being considered. Cognitive diversity as well. I mean, there's so many different aspects of diversity. And as I said, I mean, the report done by the College of Surgery of Edinburgh is excellent. And it looks at all of these different aspects. And the colleges are working. I was at the Senate where we were meeting with all the surgical colleges, presidents of all the colleges, and all the surgical societies. So we had a big meeting looking at how we can tackle the inequalities in surgery in all areas. And there's work being done.
I agree with that.
Hi, I have a question. So, thank you very much, Mr. for outlining the fact that this area good and bad people all do the same, and it's I think we affect all people. And you brought also mindset in terms of how you see certain situations and how where you grew up influences that mindset? How do you think we can strengthen that mindset as much as possible to improve how we handle those situations?
I think that everyone has to take it upon themselves to do the necessary work. And whether it is that you go outside, you're not necessarily going to get it within medicine. But I mean, I even though I came from the background I came from, and I felt that I was pretty confident in myself, over time, the system really broke that a little bit. But you know, if you start at a very high level, it takes a lot longer for the erosion to start, and it doesn't go as deep. But so it's not. I brought a number of empowerment workshops. I continue to do so. So I think you're going to stay open and do the necessary work. But it really does impact how you see things. And we can't afford to wait for society to think. You know, it's too slow. It's happening, it's too slow. So work with yourself.
I agree. I think growing up visiting East Africa regularly, I saw people who were black and in positions of power all the time. But then going into the UK system and working, where you experience kind of less diverse people and people who are less tolerant of diversity, it does kind of take you away a bit, but it's really important to have supporters in terms of your family and your friends who can build you back up. And then also that you work on yourself and kind of make sure that you know that they're the ones with the issues of yourself. There's a lot that you can do in terms of self-empowerment, knowing that you are good enough to kind of progress further and make that if these things do happen, then they just kind of water off the ducks back, even though it's just not nice as well.
And before the question, but I mean, let's be aware that, of course, we know that this intersectionality aspect. And so if you have more of these diverse characteristics, it's a little bit harder. And even more important for you to not only do the work, but to get support networks. I think what I stress the importance of finding a mentor you can and having a peer support.
I think we have setbacks in Korea. I mean, I've always had this kind of idea that when we finish that, we'll get straight into foundation training and straight into a training post to someone. And in fact, we're finding that we did now. I mean, 8 people do a foundation post last year. And training posts at kind of registrar level, SHO level is even harder to get. Did you have any difficulty with that, or do you have any advice for people who are worried about these things?
I mean, I did. I took a year out because I thought I would get a core training job and I wanted to improve my portfolio. I also took 4 attempts to pass my exam because I'm dyslexic. So there are setbacks and it's very difficult to get into training. I think the importance of having a good support network again is invaluable because a lot of times, like I think the 3rd time I failed my MRCS exam, I was just in tears on FaceTime with my mum in the hospital where I was working. But the encouragement that you get from your family and your friends, and knowing that you can persist and keep going, and the importance of being resilient as well is invaluable. Like there will be setbacks, it's not easy, it's competitive, whatever you try and do, but knowing that you will get there eventually, and if you put the work in, I think it's amazing. But yeah, I've definitely had setbacks.
Yeah, I just want to say that what we need to do is to change our relationship with the word failure. You know, failure is a stepping stone to success. You know, look at many of the great people. I'm not going to become Mr. Branson, these companies that fail, or they're not going to come back up. I failed my first exam, also very certain I don't fail the exam. And at the time, I thought it was the worst thing in life. I thought, oh my God, you know, I have to fail something, but that wasn't worth doing. That's how serious I thought it was. But maybe in the team of things, it's quite very different. And so it's, you know, success and failure are just so closely linked. And if you don't see success having failure as something significantly better, it's a part of both. It's an area in which you have potential to grow. I want to change your mindset around failure, then it's not easy to do.
So my questions have like two parts. But so the first bit is what do you think is the reason that many, so I think the stats are like 25% of women enter orthopedic speciality, but only 7% become consultants. So what's like the reason for maybe they're not requesting consultancy? And then the second part is what advice would you give women of colour to try and get consultancy?
I think in terms of numbers of consultants, it will inevitably take women longer to get through. If you take time out to have children, I think for every 6 months to take out, you get 6 months to up to a year out of training. So there will be kind of an inevitable backlog from that point of view. The other aspect, I think, is that a lot of people want to have a family life, and the perception at the moment is very much if you're a surgeon, you can't really do both. And I think that's not just surgery related, it's also a kind of high intensity career. So banking, law, anything where you have long hours and it's hard work, there will be fewer women than men, because I think women are dropping out to have a better work-life balance. I think a lot more of the attitude in orthopedics and surgery is changing. So now people are encouraged to have both. There's a lot of men as well who are taking shared maternity leave, so the disparity is lessening from that point of view. But I do think that for some reason women still do drop out more than men, which is a shame because women are just as good as men.
We actually had this style of family yesterday. She has 4 children. It's like she said herself, it was hard, but it's something that is being done more often and it's possible to do. Also, so we this time maybe one or two.
I just want to use that question. I mean, currently 80% of orthopedic trainees are female, so that's definitely going to change. The percentage of consultants is 6%, but that's obviously going to change over time. I feel that there are lots of support networks now with the VOA, the British Society, networks we get involved in the state to help support you. In terms of a woman from a diverse background, you will still encounter some pushback. Even on International Women's Day, sadly, someone tweeted that why are women coming into orthopedics? You're not saying you're not strong, but it's not really a place for women, etc. So that was a tweet on International Women's Day. So that's still the mindset of some. But yes, we face some challenges as women of color. The important thing, I think, is to step up, do your best. That's okay. If you work hard and doing your best, then people can't criticize that. Be enthusiastic. People will then want to engage and to support you. Don't take things personally. Often when someone is being negative towards you, something is very hard. Okay? And don't make assumptions. Because sometimes it's true that someone's character towards us is because of sexual or racism. These are that's how you subsequently interact with that person, which can then have a negative effect. So this seriously, because you're securing yourself, you know who you are, and people will find you supportive.